Hi everybody, today we will continue the solutions chapter and today we will start from the solubility of gases in liquids. The existence of aquatic life in lakes, rivers, sea, etc. is due to dissolution of oxygen gas of air in water. Soft drinks like Coca-Cola, Pepsi contain carbon dioxide dissolved in water under pressure. So, gases will dissolve in the liquids, okay, and these are the examples. Now, on which factors will affect the solubility of a gas in a liquid? So, factors are first one is the nature of the gas and solvent. Nature of the gas and solvent. Solubility of a gas in a given solvent varies considerably with the nature of the gas. If we think about the example of oxygen, nitrogen, they are sparingly soluble in water. But if we take the example of carbon dioxide, ammonia, HCl, they are sufficiently soluble in water. Now, the solubility of gas in a liquid also depends on the nature of the solvent also. That nitrogen, oxygen gases are much more soluble in ethyl alcohol compared to the water. But if we take the examples of hydrogen sulfide, ammonia or HCl gas, they are more soluble in water compared to the ethyl alcohol. Okay. So in this way, the solubility of gas depends upon the nature of the gas and solvent. Next we will discuss the effect of temperature. Effect of temperature. It is observed that under constant pressure, the solubility of gas decreases with rise in temperature. Actually, if we increase the temperature, the kinetic energy of the solvent particles will increase, and so it will easily come out from the solvent. Okay, or gas particle, we can think that gas particle kinetic energy also will increase and it will come out from the solvent easily. So the dissolution process will decrease, and this is because the solution process for a gas in liquid is nearly always exothermic. As it is an exothermic process, so that low temperature will be favorable. So if we increase the temperature, the solubility of the gas in liquid will decrease. Next we will discuss the effect of pressure. Solubility of gas always increases with increase in pressure. Dissolution of a gas in liquid is an equilibrium process. If we apply high pressure on the surface of the liquid by the gas molecules, then the collision of the gas molecules with the surface of the liquid result in some of the gas molecules being attracted strongly enough by the liquid molecules to enter the solution. As it is a reversible process, so many of the dissolved gas molecules leave the solution and go back to the gaseous state, and this process will be continued till equilibrium is established. According to Le-Chatelier principle, the equilibrium will shift in a direction where gaseous molecules will enter into the solution from high pressure to low pressure. Thus, on increasing the pressure of the gas above the solution, the solubility increases. Next we will discuss one very important law, that is called Henry's law. In the year of 1803, William Henry gave a quantitative relationship between the solubility of a gas in liquids and its pressure at a given temperature. So according to this law, the mass of a gas dissolved per unit volume of a solvent is directly proportional to the pressure of the gas in equilibrium with the solution at a given temperature. So mathematically we can write that M is proportional to P. Now what is M? M is the mass of the gas dissolved per unit volume of a solvent. Is the mass of the gas in unit volume of solvent. Now what is the P? Now here P is the pressure of the gas in equilibrium with solution. Pressure of the gas in equilibrium state in solution. So from here we can write that M is equal to some constant, proportionality constant, and P. Or we can write that M by P is equal to K, that is equal to constant. Okay. So now from this equation that M is equal to Kp, now on plotting the solubility of a gas against the equilibrium pressure at a given temperature, we will get a straight line, because it is like the straight line equation, that is y is equal to mx. Okay. So if we plot the graph, then the graph will show the validity of the Henry's law. Next we will discuss that when we take larger number of gases that will be dissolved in a given liquid, then also Henry's law is applicable to each of them separately, and in such a case the mass of each gas dissolved is directly proportional to the partial pressure. Okay, so Dalton also made the same conclusion. If X2 is the mole fraction of the gas in the solvent and P2 is the partial pressure or partial vapor pressure, then we can write that X2 is proportional to P2. Now what is X2? X2 is the mole fraction of the gas in the solvent. This is the mole fraction of the gas in solvent. And what is P2? P2 is the partial vapor pressure of the gas. Partial vapor pressure of the gas. Okay. Now from here we can write that X2 is equal to some proportionality constant into P2, or here we can write that P2 is equal to 1 by K dot into X2, or this is P2 equal to some constant, and that constant is called Henry's constant, Henry's law constant. So K is called Henry's law constant. Okay. So another statement of Henry's law we can give: the pressure of a gas over a solution in which the gas is dissolved is proportional to the mole fraction of the gas dissolved in solution. And now units of kh will be atmosphere or bar. Now if we plot the mole fraction, that is H2 versus the corresponding that partial vapor pressure, that is the equilibrium pressure, then we will get a straight line. Okay, so if we plot like this, in y-axis we are plotting the equilibrium pressure, and x-axis we are plotting the mole fraction of the gas. Mole fraction of the gas. Then we will get a straight line passing through the origin. Okay. Now different gases have different values of kH. That is the Henry's constant. This Henry's constant. Okay. But at the same temperature in the same solvent. Now kH is a function of the nature of the gas, and greater the value of kH, lower is the solubility of the gas at the same partial pressure and at a particular temperature. The value of kH increases with increase of temperature, implying that the solubility decreases with increase of temperature at same pressure. Next, we will discuss the limitation of this law, that means Henry's law. This law is valid only if pressure of the gas is not too high and the gas is only sparingly soluble, not highly soluble. Okay, the temperature is not very high and gas does not enter into the chemical combination with the solvent. Suppose we can think about the example that ammonia is reacting with water forming ammonium hydroxide. So here the Henry's law will not work. If there is any dissociation of gas molecule in water or association, then Henry's law will not also work. Now what are the applications of this Henry's law? In soft drinks like carbon dioxide gas, okay, when it is dissolving in water, then we are giving two conditions. One is high pressure, another at low temperature. So when the bottle is opened, the pressure will release and so the gas will come out. Okay, this is one application of Henry's law, that by increasing the pressure we are dissolving the carbon dioxide gas. Okay, and another application we will discuss, that is for blends. When a deep sea diver comes to the surface of the water very quickly, then nitrogen and oxygen that have dissolved in blood at high pressure are suddenly released in the form of bubbles in blood vessels, and these cause pain and even sometimes death, and this is called blends. To avoid blends and toxic effect of high concentration of nitrogen in the blood, the tanks used by scuba divers now are filled with diluted with helium. Okay. Next, another application, that due to lower partial pressure at higher altitudes, okay, we know that higher altitude the air pressure is very low, so there is low concentration of oxygen. So when the peoples living at the higher altitudes or climbers, okay, they have low blood oxygen, and this low blood oxygen makes the climbers weak and they are unable to think properly, and this type of disease is known as anorexia. And another application we can tell, that acetylene is stored by dissolving it in acetone under a pressure at about 30 atmospheric pressure. Next, we will discuss one numerical on this Henry's law, that is very important. Problem is given, if nitrogen gas is bubbled through water at 2 293 Kelvin. How many millimoles of nitrogen gas would dissolve in 1 liter of water? Assume that nitrogen exert a partial pressure of 0.987 bar. Given that the value of Kh, that is Henry's constant, for nitrogen gas at 293 Kelvin, 76.48 kilobar. So we know that the mole fraction of nitrogen will be equal to partial pressure of nitrogen divided by the Henry's constant. So now partial pressure of nitrogen is given here. What is the partial pressure of? That is 0.987 bar. 0.987 bar. And Henry's law is given in kilobar. We have to convert in bar. So it will come 76480 bar. So if we calculate the value, it will come around 1.29 into 10 to the power minus 5. Now, if n moles of nitrogen are present in 1 liter, if n moles of nitrogen are present in 1 liter solution, then or 1 liter of water, 1 liter of water, then we have to calculate the mole fraction of nitrogen. We know that 1 liter water means 1000 gram, and if we divided it by the mole, that means 1 mole water, that is 18, we will get 55.55. So here it will be equal to n plus 55.55. So as here the value of n is very less compared to the 55.55, so we write, assume its values is n by 55.55. Then the calculation will be easy here. So from here we can write that n by 55.55 is equal to that value 1.29 into 10 to the power minus 5 moles. So if we calculate the value of n will come that 71.595 into 10 to the power minus 5 moles. If we want to convert in millimoles, then it will come as 0.716 millimoles. Okay, so that will be your answer. So question was that how many millimoles of nitrogen would dissolve in 1 liter water? So your answer will be 0.716 millimoles, okay, of nitrogen gas would dissolve in 1 liter water. Okay. So hope you can understand. So this type of numerical may come in your exam based on the Henry's. Very easy. You have to only put the whatever data supplied. and all time you have to write the unit correctly. Next we will discuss that in case of solution of liquids, in liquids we have generally three type of system. System involving completely miscible liquids like alcohol and water. Second case is system involving immiscible liquids like water and carbon tetrachloride. And there may be third type of system involving that partially miscible liquids like phenol and water. Now we will discuss the vapor pressure. Now I hope that all of you know that what is vapor pressure. The pressure exerted by the vapors in equilibrium with a liquid at a given temperature is called the equilibrium vapor pressure, or simply vapor pressure of that liquid, okay, at a particular temperature. Mathematically we can say that from the law of gas that P is equal to nRT. So P is equal to, we can write N by VRT, or we can write P is equal to CRT. Okay, here C is the concentration of the vapor in moles per liter. For each liquid there is a characteristic vapor pressure at a given temperature. Now factors affecting the vapor pressure. First one is the nature of the liquid. Nature of liquid. Every liquid has a characteristic vapor pressure at a given temperature. This is because each liquid has different magnitude of intermolecular attractive force. Thus each liquid has a different tendency to evaporate. We can think about ether. In case of ether there is no hydrogen bonding. Only the dipole-dipole interaction as well as van der Waals attractive force is there. So the intermolecular force between ether molecules or among ether molecules is very low. But if we think about the intermolecular attraction or attractive force in water, there is hydrogen bond. So very strong attractive force is there in water molecule. That is why the boiling point of ether is less compared to the water. Boiling point of diethyl ether will be near about that 33 degrees centigrade. In case of water it will be 100 degrees centigrade. So from here we can easily understand that each liquid has a different tendency to evaporate because of this intermolecular attractive force. Next point is the temperature. Now vapor pressure of a liquid is directly proportional to its temperature. So with the increase in temperature, the vapor pressure of liquid increases. So whenever we are increasing the temperature, the kinetic energy of the solvent molecule will increase. So more amount of vapor will be generated in a closed container. So vapor pressure will increase. Next we want to discuss that boiling point. Now what is boiling point? The temperature at which the vapor pressure of a liquid becomes equal to the atmospheric pressure, then it is known as the boiling point of the liquid. Now vapor pressure of solution. Whenever a non-volatile solute is added to a liquid, the vapor pressure of the solvent is lower, and this is called Babot's law. Next we will discuss one very important law, that is called Raoult's law. Francois Marie Raoult, a French scientist, studied the vapor pressure at a constant temperature and he proposed a law that is known as Raoult's law. In case of mixing of volatile liquids, the statement of this law is, in a solution, the partial vapor pressure of a volatile component at a given temperature is equal to the product of the mole fraction of that component and the vapor pressure of the component in pure state. Let us consider two volatile liquids. We are considering two volatile A, B are two volatile liquids. Now, if PA and PB are their partial vapor pressure, PA and PB are their partial vapor pressure, and XA, XB are their mole fraction in solution. XA and XB are the mole fraction in their solutions or in the solutions. Their solutions. XA and XB are the mole fraction in solutions. Then we can write that PA is equal to PA0 or PA0 into XA, and for B liquid we can write that PB is equal to PB0 into XB. So here what is PA and PB0? These are the vapor pressure of pure liquid A, B respectively. So PA is the vapor pressure of pure liquids of A, as well as PB is the vapor pressure of the pure liquids B. So in this way mathematically we can express the Raoult's law, and this is for only volatile liquid. Now Raoult's law for solution containing a non-volatile solute. Let us consider a solution where a non-volatile solute, okay, in a volatile solvent is present. Here the solution contains non-volatile solute, so there is no contribution of the solute to the total vapor pressure of the solution. Thus, vapor pressure of the solution equal to the vapor pressure of the solvent, okay, in this solution. Now here we will write what? So if PA is the vapor pressure of solvent, PA vapor pressure of solvent, and XA is the mole fraction of the solvent. Then we can write that PA is equal to PA0 into XA. So from here we can write that P is equal to PA0 into XA. Okay. So what is P? P is the pressure of the solution, and PA0 is the pressure of the partial pressure of the pure solvent, okay, pressure of the pure solvent, and XA is the mole fraction of solvent A. Thus for solution containing non-volatile solutes, the Raoult's law may be defined as follows. The vapor pressure of a solution containing non-volatile solute is directly proportional to the mole fraction of the solvent at a given temperature. So now we can compare these two laws. That one is Henry's law, another is Raoult's law. So from Raoult's law we are getting that P is equal to PA0 into XA, that is Raoult's law. And if we want to recall the Henry's law, from Henry's law we get that P is equal to some KH, that is Henry's constant, into X mole fraction, that is Henry's law. Now these two laws will be same when this will be same. So when PA0 is equal to KH, then only that we can say that Raoult's law is a special case of Henry's law. So today up to this, and next day or next class we will discuss more about this solution chapter. Thank you.